this is a psychological stress evaluation test, better known as PSE. What we're going to do is ask you some questions. You'll answer yes or no. We will tape these questions. The tape will go back to the United States. At that time, we'll test it through a computer to measure your micro tremors in your voice. It's like a lie detector test.
Yeah.
Would you agree to doing this?
Start it.
Okay, first question. Is your name Edward Meier?
Yes.
Could you speak a little louder, please?
Yes.
Are you wearing a shirt?
Yes.
Do you live in Switzerland?
Yes.
Have you taken photographs of Palladian spacecraft?
Yes.
Do you ride your moped?
Yes.
Do you receive your mail at Schmidt-Rudy?
Yes.
Did you fake the photographs taken at Ober-Sadeleg with a model suspended? Wait till the answer, or wait till the question is finished. Suspended by a string.
No.
Let's do that one more time, okay? Wait till I finish. Do you live in Switzerland?
Yes.
The tape is taken back to be analyzed by Bob Phelan, a former criminal investigator with the Sheriff's Department of Colorado and a specialist in lie detection.
Was also a yes answer. Number 3, do you live in Switzerland? Yes, he lives in Switzerland. There's enough stress here to indicate that probably isn't where he prefers to live, or he's lived someplace else. Okay, question 4 was the first relevant question you asked him, is have you taken the photographs of spacecraft? His answer was yes. He's being extremely forceful, though not deceptive. And my opinion on that particular question is that he's being as truthful as possible. Number 7 was the second relevant question you asked him, and he answered right on top of the question. And the person asking the question had asked him to answer the question again, and then he asked the question again. The stress levels between the two diminished the second time that the question was asked, which is not indicative of deception, because stress builds in a deceptive pattern. It doesn't diminish. If it was a deceptive answer, the stress would then increase, not decrease. Now, something was extremely interesting to me was the 8th question you asked him on, do you drink coffee? And for some reason, he's more stressful on the statement about coffee than he is about the picture of the spacecraft.
Yeah, that makes sense, because about 3 days before we tested Meier, he promised his wife he'd stop drinking coffee, but we noticed he'd been sneaking a few occasionally.
Okay, that could probably be the account for it then.
Phelan reviews the tape several times. He can find no evidence of deception in the statements about Meier's experiences. Much of Meier's film has been lost or stolen, but the remaining sequences are, as promised, the most astonishing ever released. In one demonstration, the beam ship flies around a tree, which can be seen to sway in the backwash. Once again, in slow motion. Even slower. Later, Semyasi brings a new beam ship to pose for Meier's cameras. A variation quite unlike anything he has seen before. She explains, as best he can understand it, the function of the spheres for propulsion of the craft in interstellar travel. The sound of the new beam ship shows marked differences to the sounds of the other variation craft. Meier tapes these as well. The tapes are taken to electronics consultant Niels Rognerud and sound engineer Steve Ambrose for examination.
We have two pieces of equipment. One measures the signal we're listening to in the time domain, the top one here. And the bottom one is measuring the frequency components of the signal.
Yeah, what does this mean when they're all together like that?
What you have is you have many tones happening at the same time, and right now they're aligned. Now they're disaligning. They're out of alignment. They're very much out of alignment. Now they're starting to centralize on one. It's not as though maybe before you had 10 different frequencies at random and then all of a sudden 9 dropped out and you only had 1 left. What's happening is the 10 different frequencies are converging on one central frequency, which is, I find, very interesting. This is probably one of the most interesting things about the tape is that there are
What's this right now?
very, very many tones,
Yeah.
and they're all changing very fast.
For a moment there, we were looking in and we had 3 evenly spaced frequencies. See it there again?
I got me again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Niels, would it be possible to recreate this sound?
To be honest with you, I personally don't think so. There are not synthesizers on the market that have oscillators that change that randomly. Even if you got 9 or 10 of them going, they wouldn't change from those peaks that quickly.
So a significant thing is this rate of change.
Well, and besides, if you were going to create a noise for a spaceship, you'd be hard put to come up with something as original as this. There's another alignment there.
Okay, Lee, what we can do here is...
Intrigued by the findings, Lee Elders takes the tape to Robin Shellman, who has studied the sounds of the earlier craft.
We're showing this throbbing, modulating beat that we hear on the tape. This beat, or modulation, occurs at these frequency peaks. Each one of these peaks is a discrete frequency. If you wanted to give a visual display, let's say we're talking a motor. Could be a motor, a shaft of a motor with 4 magnetic poles or coils around this shaft. The curious thing about this, it changes from 4 to 5, 6, 7, all the way up to a number that is difficult to discern. At a certain point, you're going to generate a certain amount of magnetism. And then later on, you want a stronger field, well, you're going to select 8 fields. All right, now you're going to hear 8 pulses on the tape. And then later on, you want a stronger field, you can select 16, 32.
Is there anything unusual about this?
I would think it's highly unusual. I don't really see any application for it, with the exception of, like I say, either generating a magnetic wave of some sort for laboratory purposes or maybe in this case, propulsion.
Without ever having seen a picture of the new beam ship, Shellman has drawn a representation of the spheres and offered an explanation of their function.